Hello, Wonderful Mercy family. I'm so excited to hop on here for a couple of minutes and just share an update with you regarding my work here at the Union Rescue Mission in downtown Los Angeles' Skid Row neighborhood. I sent an email to Pastor Dirk a couple of weeks ago, kind of explaining and sharing a little bit about what's been going on, but was asked to just provide a little bit of an update. Around that time, I think I had shared with Pastor Dirk that one of my coworkers had unfortunately tested positive for COVID-19, and unfortunately 11 days later he passed away due to complications from this illness. Our staff has been navigating and walking through that grief and loss, and we've been leaning in to serve at the same time. Since then, we have actually found out we had 14 additional cases for a total of 15 positive COVID-19 cases here at the URM. That number is startling, and unfortunately, there's 60 positive cases throughout the Skid Row community, and so we're navigating what it looks like to serve well, to keep people safe while trying to protect our staff and our leadership at the same time. This is no easy season. We thought it would be a few weeks of leaning in, and it's turning into being a few months. It's turned into a marathon and not a sprint, and to be honest, I'm not a runner. So I am learning so much by what it means to really lean in for such a tough and grueling season. I am honored and privileged to serve here. I have never been more secure in my calling to be here. If anything, what this season has shown me has reconfirmed over and over again my calling and how I was simply made to work here, to be in this environment, to be amongst this community. There's nowhere I would rather be. A couple of ways tangibly that you can join me in this mission and be praying for this community. First off is for our leadership. We are making lots of important calls and decisions in direct guidance and participation and collaboration, coordinated efforts with the CDC, Department of Public Health, Department of Health Services, and we are trying to do the best that we can. We have a responsibility to serve this community. We shelter about 1,000 people per night. What we're working to do right now is to decompress our building, to move about 500 people from our building here in Skid Row to various hotels, motels, alternate shelter sites, where they can be monitored in either isolation or quarantine, where they may have a lower risk of exposure than they have here with us at this time, while trying to professionally disinfect and clean our building and do all of these different things. Lots of moving pieces. I personally am overseeing a off-site overflow shelter for 8 families that have had exposure to COVID-19 one way or another. Those are 8 intact families that I'm working with overnight. I work there overnight and I work here during the day, and so there's lots of moving pieces, lots of bandwidth. So pray for rest for our team. We are all in, and our kind of key core team is here day to day. They're putting themselves at risk to be on the front lines of this season and this pandemic and this crisis and what it's turned into and what that means for our team. And so be praying for them as we continue to dive into what God has called us to do here. We feel a great responsibility to continue serving in this season, but we want to do that in a way that helps, not hurts. We want to serve well, and we want to lead with compassion and care. But we don't want to ignore the weight and gravity of this situation. And so our coordinated efforts are so important to get our most high risk and vulnerable populations and people groups moved from our building for the time being. So be praying for us as we work in collaborative environments with partners who we don't normally work with. So we're learning how to better work with our county and our city. We're a faith-based organization, and so that relationship is tricky. So pray for our leadership as they navigate that. One way to pray for me personally is for my families in quarantine. I'm working with them. We're on night 3, and it's been hard. It's been hard to keep them in one place and to understand the importance of this isolation and quarantine season. Pray that none of them would get sick, and then in 10 days we can lift that. Pray for me as I learn how to lead in a completely new situation. Change is not my strong set. I'm learning that on the job, and I am honored to do so, and I feel a great responsibility to do this well. And so be praying for me as I take on that role, which is not really what I planned for this season. And one of the last ways that you can be praying is for access to testing on Skid Row. The reality is, with 60 cases, 15 in our building, that number is likely higher, and we're just not aware of it. Without more testing efforts, we really won't know what we're dealing with. We could be putting more people at risk, and we won't know how to move forward without more tests. While there is more testing here in LA County than the last couple of weeks, those numbers haven't really gone up for our Skid Row community. So pray for our partners at Department of Public Health and the CDC to work on coordinated efforts to get those to us. We have a DHS health clinic. We have medical providers here that are doing outreach with the outside public community of Skid Row, with our building. we're all doing what we can, but we've got to do more. And so pray that we gain access to testing for staff that have possibly been exposed, for the rest of our building and our programs that have had close exposure, for the outside Skid Row community, so that we can really move forward and to figure out what the next steps are of this season. We are so grateful for your support and your prayers and your partnership. Wonderful Mercy is the church that sent me here, and I believe they're part of the church that has kept me here. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm grateful for this season of growth and learning and ministry, and in a season where the weight is heavy. The truth of the gospel is heavier and is bigger. We know that in a crisis and in a pandemic and in this season of unknowns, that Christ is still on the throne, that he will carry and see us through. And so leaning into that, pray that my team would as well. Pray that I would. I pray that you all will. I've never been so confident in my faith in a season such as this. And so what an opportunity to be a light in a community that's experiencing such darkness. So we thank you for your prayers and your support, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon.